Hi everyone, this is Sharon. Today's video is going to be a short little haul video. As some of you know, I recently got back from a trip to France and one of my subscribers asked if I would do a haul video. I guess the assumption is that I would go over there and just bring back all kinds of wonderful old ephemera. I had my doubts at first that I was going to come back with anything, but in the end I did end up coming back with a few treasures. So I will share some of those with you today. Just a little bit about my trip. I left on a Wednesday and we spent a couple of days in Paris initially. I traveled with my sister and we were with a group of people and our itinerary was very packed, and of course we wanted to see all the sights of Paris. So we saw the Eiffel Tower and Notre Dame and the Louvre and some beautiful old basilicas and other sights of Paris. But I left the city feeling a little dejected because I didn't have any kind of flea market finds or anything that I found that I could bring back with me. But the trip was young and I wasn't going to lose hope. So we actually from Paris jumped on a river cruise of the Seine. And a few days into the trip, we landed at a city called Rouen. And it's Rouen. It's the capital of Normandy. And we spent a day there, a couple of days actually. And one of the afternoons, we had some free time to roam the city. So we took off and walked around the city, especially in the older parts, some of the medieval sections. And we happened upon an old bookstore. And so I thought, oh, right, I might find some old books in there. And I walked into the store and there were a bunch of older antique books on the first floor. And the man behind the counter took one look at this American and pointed me downstairs to the basement. And I went down there and it was all modern books, new books, a lot of them in English, some in French. And so I hightailed it right back up the steps and went to the old sections. And I managed to find a few books in that store that I took with me. And I thought, well, if this is all I get from France, that's fine. I will be happy because I've got myself some beautiful old books. So I just will go through a few of these that I got from that store. So this one I thought just had a beautiful cover to it, embossed. And this one is dated 1894, so it's a nice old book. And then I found this one, and it had this beautiful marble cover. I like the colors in that. Kind of drew me to it. This one, I think, let's see, is dated 1906, but it's got some nice old patinaed pages in it. And then I found this set of two books with this dark green color to them. And these are nice old, there's a signature in there. Some nice foxing on those pages, and these are dated 1859. So I was happy with my books. And so we took off out of that store and kept walking around that city, and we turned a corner and ta-da, we found a little flea market. So we went to that flea market, and the flea market's in Paris. You're probably wondering, well, why didn't you hit a flea market in Paris? The thing with those was we looked up a bunch of them, and they seemed to be mostly on the weekends and in the morning hours. And we were there in the middle of the week, and it just didn't pan out for us to check any of those out. But here we just happened upon a little flea market. It was the middle of the afternoon, so they were kind of closing things up. But I walked past this book stand, and this man had all of these paperback books in his booth, but there was one little book, this one, right in the middle of everything. And my beady little eyes spotted that book, and I went over there and I pulled it out and I said, Monsieur, how much is this book? And he said €2. And I said, I will take it. And it's a beautiful old religious book. I didn't look through the contents of a lot of these books. This one has some prayer cards in it. And this one is dated 1847. It's just a beautiful old book. And so I grabbed that one, and before I could even pay for it, he went back to his van and he pulled out a couple more books. Same price, €2. And so I said, yes, please, I will take these. This is an 1885. And most of these that he had were religious books, but they have some beautiful old prayer cards in them and some nice leather covers. So I got that one, and then I got this one. Some beautiful embossing on the inside. This one is 1912. And just a nice old prayer book. And I love the spine on that one. And then he went back to his van again. I'm convinced that if I was there all day, he probably would have emptied that van. He brought more books out. So I said, of course. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, my aching back, I'm going to be carrying these through the airport. So here's a nice old leather one. And it's got some beautiful handwriting there. This one is really old. And I need to go check the date on this. I think this is quite old. So yes, this is 1666. Can you imagine? Oh, it is so old and beautiful. It's got the beautiful old rag pages in it. And at this point in the day, my heart was soaring. I was just so happy to have some of these old books that I could carry home with my very own hands. And then here's a set of two. Some nice spines on those. These are really deep blue. And I think these are dated 1843. Yep. So again, just some beautiful old French books, similar to ones I may have purchased on eBay or Etsy, but I was just so happy to be able to find these on my own when I was over there. And then this beautiful leather one, nice spine on that. This one is a little bit larger. And this is another old one. And this one is dated 1764. So another nice, beautiful old rag paper book. Lots of beautiful pages. Just because I picked these up myself and they're so special to me, I'm pretty sure I will just display all the books that I found on this trip in my home. But I was pretty happy at this point with all of these books. And I was about to walk away from that booth, and he came out with one more item. And it was this beautiful little leather box. It's got a kind of a metal clasp here. It's a little beat up, but not bad. And then inside, it's got this nice soft velvety lining to it. It has these 4 beautiful books in here. And I don't know, they're religious in nature, but they've got the 4 seasons, so I don't know if it's like a year-long missal or prayer book set. But they look like they've never been used. They're in really mint condition. And they've got some beautiful lining on here. There isn't a date on these. I don't know if they're maybe from the early 1900s. But some pretty images on the inside and a nice little set. I just really like this. And what I discovered was it's got this beautiful gold edging. But if you pull this apart, you can see some marbling on there, and I thought that was pretty cool. So I was pretty happy with that, and I had to walk away because I knew that my suitcase was already overweight and I would have to be carrying most of these in my backpack on the way home. So I was feeling pretty good about the trip at that point, and if that's all I got, fine, so be it. But a few more days into the trip, we landed in a little town called La Roche-Guyon. And this is deemed one of the most beautiful villages in France. It's outside of Paris, and it is kind of sandwiched in between the Seine River and this really rocky cliff. There's an old medieval chateau there that we saw. And as we were waiting for our bus to come around, the tour guide said, well, you've got about 10 minutes to explore the village if you want. And she was going on about what was there, and she just sort of happened to mention a little antique shop. And before she got the word antique out, my sister and I had beeline down the street to check it out. So we had about 5 minutes to shop. So while I was in there, I spotted a few things that I just grabbed here and there because that's all the time we had. So one of the first things I saw was this beautiful biscuit tin. And it's got this kind of Rococo style dance scene on the front. There's some dancing on the side. I don't know if you can pick that up or not. All the way around. And then the bottom is stamped Paris. But I think the best thing about the tin is that it was filled with all these beautiful old buttons. So that was quite a score. I was so happy with that. And I noticed there's a little like magazine or old book pages or something lining the bottom. I haven't really explored that yet, but so I grabbed that quickly. And then on one of the shelves, I just happened to see one little postcard, so I grabbed that. And then outside the shop, they had bins of old silverware. And I looked at these knives and I thought these handles were just the most gorgeous thing. So I picked these two knives up, and they are stamped Paris on the knife. And I just thought these would be fun for letter openers or some kind of a tool in my craft room. So I was happy with that. And then I also found this little vintage brooch, which I thought was pretty, so I grabbed that. And then I also found this piece of linen. It's a beautiful and really nice shape. I don't know if I can get it all on screen here, but it's kind of like a runner with a lacy edge and some embroidery on it. So I grabbed that in my 5 minutes of shopping, and then on the way out the door, I happened to see another tin, so I quickly grabbed that too. It's got a little cherub on it and some nice detailing around the sides. And so that is my haul from France. I had limited time to shop, but I'm actually pleased with the items that I found there. I've got a few keepsakes that I can keep as a remembrance of the trip. One other keepsake I got that I just wanted to share with you, we were at Claude Monet's Gardens and Estate, and while we were there, I picked up a few petals of flowers from his garden that happened to fall on the ground. I stuffed them in my pocket and just pressed them when we got back to the hotel, and now I'm going to keep them in this little glassine bag. So I thought that would be a nice little keepsake to put with all of my other items. I'm pretty sure if I ever happen to get back to France that it will definitely be something where I will kind of plan the whole trip around flea markets and brocantes and shopping and maybe a retreat of some sort or something like that. But I was really happy. We traveled around the Normandy region and got to taste a lot of the cheeses and ciders and chocolate in that area. So it was a great trip. I'm happy to be home and happy to be back in my craft room. I'm working on a special design team project right now. It's kind of a guest design team project. So I should have that flipped through for you early next week. So until then, bye-bye.